before I talk into what is Agile, I'll talk a bit about why Agile first. And to put it in a simple way, the old way of doing things, especially for projects, is firstly you have a very clear objective. So that's you have a target, you have a clear goal, you have a clear objective. Those what you want to go, and you also have a set pathway of going to there. So it can be a set project management pathway. You analyze, you develop, you implement, and then you test, and you get a feedback. So you have a clear pathway to your goal in a project, in manufacturing, and everything. So now what's going to happen is, unfortunately, I don't have a good picture for a moving target. So what you see here is a target, but in actual fact, sometimes we don't even know what the goal is. Or we may know a general direction of the goal, but not the specific goal. And we get a clearer picture as we move towards the goal, but at the starting point, we probably don't know exactly what the goal is and what you are trying to achieve, right? So that's the thing. And because you're not very clear about the goal, you are also not very clear about how to get there. So you may be moving in different directions, adjusting as you go along, and eventually, hopefully, you have a clear picture and you meet the goal. So this is in a way a more visual way of saying this is VUCA. But the term VUCA has been overly abused and overly used. So I thought I'd just use some kind of visual representation like this of what it is. So things are volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, and you're not quite sure where you're heading. You're not quite sure about steps. You need to move on, but you also need to have some kind of a framework to work with, even though you're not quite sure how to get there. So we'll go into those framework and how to get there, and the people issues on getting there in a while. So Agile basically is something that is iterative, and again I'll go in a brief description of what do we mean by iterative, as well as the second one, incremental. It is always about value-driven, as in we really want to deliver value for the customers. We are really wanting to deliver something for the customers that is beneficial to the customers. It is that moving target that we mentioned earlier on. It's something that we try to deliver to the customers, but we are not quite clear at the beginning what it was. And sometimes the customers are not sure about what it was in the first place. So iterative versus incremental. The pictures on the top is what we call iterative. So version 1, what we want to do is to have a sketch of the final product. So we use some pencil, some color pencils, just to have a rough sketch, just to be sure that this is the general direction that we are heading towards. Right, so we've done this and we have a review, and we show it to customers and say, no, is this the general direction? And if it is, let's move on. If it's not, let's see what we need to change. We fix the changes, and then we go to version 2, we just add a bit of colors and show the client, say, are we on the right track? This is what we want. And then if it's right, we go to version 3 again. So that's iterative. We have different versions. Incremental is something like we do something like let's do the head, the perfect thing of the head, and then do number 2, which is the right arm, and then the left arm. So this is iterative. We do the whole thing on a step-by-step process. Now the good thing about this is that you get to see exactly part by part how it looks. The bad thing is that you don't have an idea of how the final product may look like, right? So that's the iterative incremental. And what Agile is we try to be both. We want to be iterative, and we want to be incremental. So we can actually start with painting or sketching an overview. And for the parts that we are clear about what to deliver, we can go ahead and go on incremental on that part. And for the parts that we are not so clear, let's do the sketching, show the customers, come back and do the adjustments, right? So that's how we meant by iterative and incremental. So we do both in Agile. And one thing to notice that the reason we mention Agile is not because we're saying Agile is a better way. Agile is just a way to deal with complexities and frequent changes. So if you want to go to Agile, there are three things that we are looking at. We're looking at, from the project point of view, are there things that you need to do changes in the projects? Will the project specs be changing all the time or quite frequently? Do you have certain uncertainty that you don't really quite know what the end thing is all about, or the customers may not know? So that's a project. Again, it's a response to the changes that could be out there. That's what Agile is. If everything is very stable and predictable, there is no need to go for Agile, right? So we are not saying that it is a better way of doing things. So let's be clear about that. Two is the organization. Do you have the right culture? We'll talk a bit about company culture and how it relates to getting our people to be more motivated in Agile. Are they empowered to make the right decisions? You give them the right support to make decisions in Agile. And of course, the team, do they have the right skills levels? Are they able to be available and adaptable to this new way of working, right? So it's three parts. So normally when we talk about Agile, depending on what have you been exposed to Agile. So if you're coming from the software world, and by the way, all this came as a result of project management in software. So imagine if you're doing things for Tencent, Tencent, or Alibaba, where specs keep on changing, right? So there's got to be a better way to manage that. So it came from all the way from software, and a lot of times we talk about how to arrange the team and how to manage the project to bring some sanity to scopes that are always changing. So we talk a lot about the teams part, and there is a lot of things on the project part. But what we tend to forget is actually we are looking at the organization part. And for this afternoon, and for a lot of the work that we do, we are not really looking into products. We're also not really looking even at IT projects. We are looking at manufacturing companies who are looking at ways to go into smart manufacturing, Internet of Things, how to be more responsive to customers' needs, how to go on economies of scope, as in multiple SKUs and very automated, rather than economies of scale, right? So those are some of the issues that we are working with some of our clients on how to be agile in a more in the manufacturing environment, right? So those are some of the things to think about.